who's to say success is a good thing? Like, we really attach these valences, but in my life, a lot of and my negative. But the 2005-2006 season, I had been demoted to the B team in the spring of 2005. Causing me a lot of pain now. I was really unwell. I had an eating disorder and I kind of lost. Yeah, I got a lot out of those 2014 games because when I decided, okay, am I going to quit or not quit? Do I want to watch the games?
And thanks for tuning in today. This week's episode is brought to you in conjunction with Upskilled and their mini MBA. If you want to get the skills and knowledge to help move you forward without all of the big expense, then this mini MBA with Upskilled is the right way to go. Follow the link in the show notes and you can get $500 off.
Well, look, for those who might not know who you are, tell me a little bit about yourself and what's happening in your world.
I'm Chandra Crawford. I'm from Canmore, Alberta in the Rocky Mountains in Western Canada. And I have a mission to share my high vibe energy to help myself and others turn our challenges into opportunities. I'm like 110% extroverted and I love people and I love psychology. I love music. I love plants. I love kids. I think kids are one of my core values. If they can be a core value, they for sure are one of my core values. I'm a mom of 4. I have a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old. And so that's just like a whole pile of growth, personal growth. Sign me up. And I also love reading and learning, and my partner Jared and I really like to goal set and challenge each other and grow. So we're just super annoying, to summarize.
That is a beautiful introduction. Probably one of the best introductions I've had.
Okay. Well, because you're not defined by your accolades, right? Like, I have letters and things that are accomplishments, but like, I am an energy fundamentally.
Yes, that I think goes without saying, and that to me comes across so many of the conversations you've had and the imagery that comes with you as well. I think it's great, and from being an athlete, and I guess as athletes we're somewhat at times subdued because you're sort of focused and you're sort of on this mission, and it's as if for you you've almost come alive since stopping being I shouldn't say stopping being an athlete, but since that hasn't been the primary focus of your day.
Yeah, that resonates. I don't know if in football you have the 24-hour athlete concept. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. Tell me more.
That's in the Nordic skiing world, or it was in style in my career, which ended 10 years ago. We had the 24-hour athlete, which meant every minute of every hour of every day, I could be doing something to enhance my career, recovery, visualization, not thinking about skiing, technique, like it's endless. And so that was really the goal, was to have every minute of my life build towards not losing a medal by a 10th of a second and then looking back and regretting, like, oh, why did I go to that dinner party? And then I got a sore throat and then I missed a week of training. Like, it was really intense. So I could see how retiring is really healthy also. It's beautiful.
Wow, that concept of a 24-hour athlete, that I haven't heard. And you're right, it does, certainly if taken the wrong way, it can almost fill you with a life, not fill your life. You just be super focused on, like you say, that 100th of a second, especially in sports where there's such a fine margin, which means you wouldn't do anything. I guess for you, when you think about your career with that type of mindset, to what extent do you think you had to miss out on things?
It's also the culture of the group that I was in, because being in the group of the best skiers in the country we had a pretty great thing going. We really felt that it was, to make a sacrifice is to make something sacred, and it's a choice and it's a privilege. And we had a great sports psychologist, one that would say, want to always beats have to. So if you start saying, I have to go to training camp, like, do you have to go on a plane and go to New Zealand and ski? Oh, that sounds like, the kid, but it can start to feel like that.
Yeah.
The coaches are making me do things like, and similarly in MBA school, we would complain constantly. And then one of my classmates, Francisco Castillo, he's like, guys, we paid them tons of money to do this. It's our choice. Did you remember? Like, it's a perspective, right? So, really enjoyed it at the time and felt like I was living life to the fullest by really focusing all my energy and like pruning like a wine vine, or what might be an analogy of like you really trim off some stuff, but man, it gets really concentrated. And just was curious about how much power I would have if I put all my power in one laser beam direction, and found that pretty rewarding as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So much to go through on that. But before we get too carried away, we should go backwards a little bit and talk about you as an athlete, just to give us that perspective on, I'll say, where you're coming from. So let's jump in, and I suppose the question I'd ask is, at what point was skiing or cross country skiing something where you thought, hey, I'm good at this. This is my lift-off point?
My athletic career built on a really nice development curve, but I started off as a toddler in the mountains in Canmore with really fun-loving parents, like 70s hippie parents who like to canoe and hike and eat granola and so on. And they're really, really chill and nice, and they love nature. And I have had a younger brother and younger sister. So we were just out loving life outside. But then I grew up in this hometown, Canmore, Alberta, which is the site of the 1988 Winter Olympics. We're in Calgary, and the Nordic venue was in Canmore. And then it was the National Training Center. And then subsequent big giant races came through. So I grew up my life like scaling up and down these mountains and swimming in the river and mountain biking on really extreme terrain. And also doing like normal kid stuff and like playing piano and singing in the choir and playing saxophone, like pretty well-rounded life and outdoorsy. But then the chance to see the best athletes just totally altered the course of my life. If I grew up somewhere else, I'd for sure be doing something else. I was really had a lot of exposure to the role models. The national team was based there. And then sort of like in the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers book, like I really had a lot of stars lined up because I grew up as the national team women of Canada went on a tear. And they went from what they were calling the upside down podium, like the bottom of the list in the Nagano 1998 Olympics, to in 2002, Becky Scott won the first ever gold for Canada in cross country skiing in the Salt Lake Games. And I was 17 on that day in February when she stood on the podium. And I had been to World Juniors and I'd had a top 15. So these things all just swirled around me, and I was totally committed to Nordic skiing. Through my age 14, 15, I did want to see what my potential would be, but I was in biathlon and I could not hit the broadside of a barn, and I had a kind of lower quality rifle. My parents got me a $500 Russian rifle instead of a $2,500 German rifle, which worked out great because I missed so many targets and I skied so many penalty laps and I got in awesome shape. A lot of like the little things that have to add up to a gold medal day and the little quirks and quirks of my life that made me specialize to that course on that day, February 22, 2006 in Italy, like all this biathlon really added up to it as well. So I got committed around my teens, and I would say like, oh, I'll take a year off school to pursue skiing and then I'll go to university. And I said that for a few years and then I stopped saying that. And it was like, I'm going to try for the Olympics now.
Hi, I want to take this moment to thank Upskilled and their mini MBA for sponsoring this week's session. One of the great things about their mini MBA is it allows you to gain the skills and knowledge to help propel you that little bit further forward. It gets you understanding the vocabulary in the room and also gives you some of those skills to navigate the corporate career, the government career, or indeed stepping into not-for-profit. So big thanks for Upskilled and the mini MBA for sponsoring this week. And hey, check it out. Link in the show notes. You can get $500 off.
Right, right. So one, I love the way the punishment or the penalty, should I say? It was a punishment in some respects, but that penalty, seeing the beauty in that penalty, like giving you that fitness. Were you thinking that at the time?
No, it was very frustrating. Yeah, it's such a strange sport, right?
Yeah,
Biathlon.
yeah,
I mean, someone can be way fitter, but they make this like micro mistake with their like pulling their trigger. Boom,
yeah,
you're now mid pack.
yeah,
It's just such a wild sport to watch. The leads change so much, and yeah, I think it's perspective really to say like all these negatives, like who's to say it's a negative? Who's to say success is a good thing? Like we really attach these valences, but in my life, a lot of and my negatives have been still like of the utmost privilege, like knee injury, eating disorder, stuff that I got through, but still with a lot of a leg up and was able to use it as fuel in my athletic journey.
and that's a great perspective. A perspective that you had, whether it depends how intentional it was, but it doesn't matter. Your reaction to those situations, especially as a youngster up and coming, I'm sure as we'll touch on, it's kind of stuck with you as you've moved forward. But it's that a wonderful optimism towards the events that have happened around you that are not in your control, but you've been able to take those and actually fuel your success, fuel that power from there.
Yeah. Have you ever had that experience where you're like, thank goodness that terrible thing happened? I don't know. Depends.
Look, I'm often accused of being an optimist. It's like, oh my goodness me, why do you think that's great? It's because this and this happened. And, it is, to me, optimism is a trait that helps people, certainly helped me to overcome many misgivings, many times where I may have been passed up on certain things. And I see that as, oh, that means I just need to do these things now and then I'd make it. Oh, then I'll go and do that. So it really
Wow.
is that the way of just thinking or seeing the world around you.
So helpful in your athlete transition, hey? Because that thing is harder than the
Oh yes.
athletic career.
Well, I think it is because that basis, the basis changes. But I mean, for you, because I don't want to get lost. Because you to me, you've had a wonderful athletic career, with peaks and troughs in there. Can you just talk to us about that? Your first highs, super highs, and I'm talking gold medal highs here, and then what came through?
Sure. It was a really steady athlete development progression, like junior team, 3 times at World Juniors, and then under 23 championships and the development tour, racing around Europe, getting a feel for trying to get top 10 and still getting creamed in World Cups. But the 2005-2006 season, I had been demoted to the B team in the spring of 05 and had made a lot of mistakes in the winter. And I was furious, and I used that as fuel and had this amazing training summer. I got in a phenomenal shape that I would not have gotten if I was on the A team, because I would have been busy like trying on the Olympic clothes and flying around the globe and feeling so special. But I was on the B team. We had no money and we couldn't leave Canmore barely to do our training camps. But what was within my control was the quality and the grit and the recovery. And I had a great year. And then in 05, I qualified for the Olympic team in the last second in these trials races, which were in Canada, World Cups. And a German ski racer, Claudia Kunzel, pushed me in a ski race. And that was so bizarre because like I'm Canadian, we're so nice. And also like cross country skiing is not roller derby. Like if you and I went for a ski and I hit your pole, I'd say sorry and you'd say sorry. Well, many Canadians around us would also echo sorry. And we'd we'd ski so nicely. So that was really a shock. And she was like 10 years older than me and a super champ. But I didn't ski race against her again for a few months on the World Cup. I imagined her in my visualization, like I imagined racing 10 Claudias, but I didn't see her again till the Olympic final in '06. I made it to the games. My event was a sprint race. In '02, they started trying to make a format that's more interesting. I don't know why. Our sport is super exciting because you go out in the woods and come back a while later and no one knows who won. I don't see what's the problem. They tried to make it more exciting with a sprint format. So it'd be a kilometer, one qualification round against the clock, and then we'd be put into heats, quarterfinal, semifinal, and finally, if you make it to the final, the women are way better. It's for the medals. I'm way more tired. But I made it to the Olympic final, which was my second ever final that I'd made it to. I was like peaking on time, and I was such an underdog that no one would have even thought to notice me. And I had deployed some tactics of leading the race because I had more fast twitch muscle fibers. Like these super strong distance women could just crush my sprint fibers, right, so quickly. So I had to lead and make the pace slow so that I could accelerate fast and use my sprint. And I would only have one chance at that, obviously. So I led, and then I had to hang back and draft on a downhill, and Claudia passed me. And once again, I was in a tuck, and once again, I had to pass her in the same way she'd push me. But I passed her super wide and awkwardly wide. If you were there, you'd be like, why are you over there now? And crazy fast. And I had so much adrenaline passing, like, not my nemesis, but, you know, someone I was pretty scared of. And I got this sound in my head was like a kettle boiling. And I just went cooking into the finish. And I saw the red line in the snow. And I realized I was going to cross it first. I didn't want to look left in case they passed me on the right, or look right in case they passed me on the left. But I could tell in my periphery there was no one there. And I put my hands up. And then I thought, are you kidding me? My mouth was so wide open in the photographs. Like my jaw had not been more open. It's so surprising because I always thought there's Olympic people and I'm going to dream big because they tell me to. But on that day, it was surreal. Really, it's still not always easy to explain how like flabbergasted I was, which was awesome and really fun.
And it's a wonderful story. It really is. You know, it has everything. So just tell me, has someone bought the movie rights yet? Just
that's kind of you.
Passing your nemesis, having to go through it, that manifestation, going through all of those things. And I love the little bit at the end where you talk about all these other Olympians in the race and not seeing yourself as an Olympian, you know, albeit you're in the final, you're racing, and you don't see yourself as an Olympian. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was so green and I just wanted to learn and grow, and kind of a funny moment. Like, it's so busy getting ready for a race, but they had like blue porta potties, and in a porta potty, there's that weird warped mirror. And so you have to go pee like 20 times before a race. And I'm in there and I'm like, this is just practice for 2010. And then I like looked at myself in this super weird mirror. And I was like, this is all you got. You're here. You're healthy. Like, who knows how many chances we get. One of my teammates had passed away in a training accident when we were teenagers. And I thought, like, who's to say how many days I get? This is an amazing day. Lived February 22nd, 2006 with full passion for skiing. Like, got out of that porta potty and showed him who's boss.
That's the quote we're going to use.
So beautiful.
Well, actually, I suppose porta potties aside, when you're thinking Olympians and you then cross the line, I'm interested to think, what did that make you at that moment? What did you become?
Very surprised. It was cool because it was in Italy and I had been trying to learn Italian, such an exciting, like, cool language and everything. And they were like, La campionessa olimpico dalla Canada, Chandra Crawford. It was like just amazing. And I didn't have the podium outfit. You know, at the Olympics, there's all the different outfits. I didn't bring the podium outfit. That would have been pretty ludicrous. So someone my teammate Sarah Renner, who's one of my heroes, dressed me in hers. And then I stood behind the podium, and they had dressed me. So I was like, did they do up my fly? Am I going to stand on the podium with my fly? And it is so embarrassing. This is all the things you want to know what's going on when you win the Olympics.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and watch that ceremony now, just to check.
Just to
it's
check.
okay. It's okay.
What's going on with the apparel?
Yeah.
And I always thought I'd be someone who would cry on the podium. You know, when I was out training twice a day, multiple hours a day, 6 days a week, 11 months a year, and just doing my absolute best at all times, I just thought I would bawl if I got on the podium because I worked so hard. But when I stood on the podium, it was such a surprise, and I felt so like exuberant, and I sang the anthem at the top of my lungs, and I did air guitar, and I jumped around, and it was a real show. I was really going for it. And that really, it really ignited like, okay, dream big. I mean, if I can do this, a feeling of anyone can do anything, a feeling of like, why not just go for it? This is very surprising. I was really happy with the journey. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And I managed to get the destination as well. So now we really got to dream big. And that's something, having someone around you in your life. And I have a lot of athlete friends, you know, who it's just optimism, you know, exponential because they have achieved these things, and they're like, why not? Why don't we just go for it?
Yeah. So for you in that journey, you talk about this, you know, this steady climb, albeit then has this, you know, through your career, achieving worlds, you know, getting on the tour, dropping off into the B team, still elite, you know, still at the top, but it's in the Bs, but you managed to break through and get it. And, you know, you said you loved that journey. You reached that destination, which is crossing that red line first and having that medal. What was next for you in the journey?
The home games were coming, the 2010 home games in Vancouver, and it felt very strange to me to pursuing the thing that I had just won. I was immediately worried that winning it would damage my chances in 2010. Right. Because that was the real goal. But kind of a circular reference error in some ways. So of pursuing it, and I had seen some research that talked about repeat top performance being incredibly hard, and at the same time up for challenges. There was a lot of tough things after winning the Olympics, just that unready for it, just overwhelmed by all the requests. And I would be someone who would typically reply to everyone at that time, and to not even be able to reply to all these worthy causes, let alone do their events, was quite a strain. At the same time, a bit of a feeling of like, we need to capitalize on this. This is an important, like, there's got to be some kind of monetary pursuit here. And I, at one point after the Olympics, was jogging at a World Cup between my races in Sweden. I remember looking at all the cars and being like, I can have any car I want. Like, no one's calling you with a car. No one's calling with a sponsorship. It's still a hustle to have sponsorship, and in Nordic skiing in Canada and so on. So a lot of different experiences. I think it took a while to digest it, right?
Yeah. So how did you manage that hustle? So for you during that period, you're Olympic champion. You're the best in the world. You're Olympic champion. You'd achieved the dream. In fact, you'd achieved it early. Okay. For you, did you expect then, or to what extent did you expect that, hey, full-time, money rolls in, this is awesome, versus what was your reality?
The reality was, there were like not very many major partnerships. I had just really through my network. It was like my dad had met someone and they happened to be an executive in Toronto, and they happened to care, and they happened to like put together a group. So not like super by design. And managing more obligations. I can't imagine these athletes now having to like keep their social media going. Hey, did they have that in your?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you retire though?
Oh, I came out. Do we ever really retire?
Never.
I still try and convince myself at playing in over 45s. I'm still playing. I'm still playing at the
Oh,
top.
that's amazing.
No, look, for me, the
Yeah.
game, coming out of the game really is in the early 2000s. So by,
Okay.
in the
Cool.
2000s, that for me was pretty much it. And then it moves into masters and sort of overage, tournaments. Still competing, but it's it's very different. Then it feels very different, even not just athletically, but in terms of what you're doing off the field. The life that starts to be created around that time is quite impressive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it just keeps unfolding.
Yeah.
So getting through digesting winning the Olympics and thinking that I would succeed, that I would succeed again, but I didn't win a World Cup for 2 more years. So already I had a lot of like monkey on my back feeling around
Yeah.
that. And then finally won a World Cup. And I did make it to the podium, I think 13 times in my career. And those were all just so special and amazing. I really cherish those. Uh,
Yeah.
Times that I did get to stand on the podium, and the 2010 games were crazy hard, but then the worst was yet to come
Hmm.
because the 2014 games, I was like hanging by a thread heading into that.
So talk to us. Actually, before you stepping into that bit, going through this period. So from Olympic champion, having this dip, not winning for what seemed like an age afterwards, getting back to the top again as world champion, and we're skipping this 2014. During that period, what thoughts did you have that this is it? I'm not going to make another Olympic cycle.
I don't know that I really thought of throwing in the towel because home games was very enticing. And a very specific thing about my beautiful sport is that the distances stay the same, but the techniques flip. So if I won in backstroke 100 meters, 4 years later, it's going to be butterfly.
Right.
Because classic skiing and skate skiing are that different. Different skis, boots, and poles.
Mm-hmm.
It did feel not the best that the home games were not the skate sprint I was good at. I need a short race and it has to be skate technique.
Mm-hmm.
I can't classic and I can't do long. I am a total specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
so tell me then. So I think that the bit I probably missed was that the race was different in the next Olympics.
Yeah, yeah. The race was
So
different 2010, and
the game
yeah.
changed.
It's not the game changed, and I still had these quads, so I'm here to skate ski. Um, but our sport didn't really want that much differentiation either. They created the sprint race, and then there started to be specialists like myself, and they didn't want to be like alpine skiing with technical and speed. And so then they kind of like thought we've created a monster and tried to rein it back in with this slogan called like all in the family or something. I think the International Ski Federation called it, where we try to keep, okay, fine, but that just means that the distance people can also win the sprints. They made the sprints longer again.
So it's not really a
Well,
sprint. It was a short and
whatever
long
you,
distance. Yeah.
it's like a 1,500 meter 4 times in 3 hours. Like, well, fine. In Nordic skiing, that's a sprint. But so it didn't feel like I had a good crack at it in 2010, and I often just kind of gloss over like that was a fun Olympics. And but then 2014, it would be hard to leave it on the table. It's my thing. Like I've waited 8 years to do my thing again, and that yeah, it did cross my mind to retire right before those games the year before because I was in such an unhealthy state. But I always, wanted to be there doing my thing.
And so when that thought about throwing in the towel came in, what did that look like? What did that sound like in your head?
The main thing I experienced when I was trying to decide whether or not to quit ski racing in 2012, 2013 was, is it worth it to keep cratering my health for what? I have had success. I have had beautiful trips all over the world and awesome experiences. Like, is there any real upside to continuing with this thing that is causing me a lot of pain now? I was really unwell. I had an eating disorder and I kind of lost my identity place in the team and within myself, and just like epic struggle. I can explain because now your audience is like, what?
Please
And I
do.
had, let's get to the what. I had been dating my teammate for 10 years. And then we broke up quite publicly on the World Cup ski circuit, which is just a tiny, bunch of small groups from each country traveling the world together. And he fell in love with a Norwegian girl. And so I felt like I lost my place in the relationship in the ski team. And also the role I had played in our breakup felt very like shameful and embarrassing to me as I looked back over the role I had played and lost my sense of self-worth as a good person. Holy cats, I had a really tough time. And actually, from when we broke up for 1 year later, I was actually worse. Like 12 months of just beating myself up and really feeling awful, trying to outrun my emotions and not sit and deal with them. Okay, I'm in no state to qualify for the Olympics. Eventually, I started skiing really slowly because that's what happens in the eating disorder, which I knew would happen, but still these things are so powerful. And it's like a train. Like once I, wanted to get off, it was already impossible. So that was how my should I quit skiing or not quit decision came in, because I was just a mess.
How did you get to an answer?
I had to stop skiing for a minute, and luckily, still had the resources and ability to just soul search, no dependence. Like I'm a mom now. It's like, what would that even look like if you had to soul search?
Sure.
That would be tough. So I was able to just like calm down. I went on antidepressants, had good clinical psychology. I read amazing books. There was one book that actually, found me. Like I stayed in an Airbnb and it was there, and it was this Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now, which helps us to have some distance from our thoughts, some objectivity, and just recognize that our minds are going bananas all the time.
Yes.
And yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it
and
is.
identity as well. So, have you read, some of these books have
Yeah.
helped you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I love both. Well, either the reading of it or through uh, apps like Audible. So listening to it whilst I'm moving around, and then reading the book as well. Trying to mix the two, really, for me at least, cements that in my mind and the way that I want to operate. It's fascinating that you found that book, or indeed the book found you whilst you were staying somewhere else, and it happened to be there, and you picked it up. I mean, that is, I love everything about chaos, and all of these things happen for a reason. And that book was placed there for you to pick it up and, I guess, help bring you back into, or find what you said you were excellent at. That's why you have those thighs. That's why you were you were made for this.
Yeah, it's really fortuitous, and maybe if I'd read it in a different state of mind, I'd been like, "That's a weird book," but it really hit me at the right time and helped me out of that spot. And I met my now husband, and fell in love. And my psychologist advised me, like, focus on the good things in your life, and what you focus on expands. And that was so true, that I was able to like get some more gratitude and momentum, and having the antidepressants take the kind of the bottom out of the layer of pain that I was in, so I could do the work, was really helpful. Taking a break, and I found a new identity beyond all those other things, which is like a real strong attachment to my hometown. I was like out walking at night in the winter in January, having stopped ski racing, and like the snow was crunching under my feet, and there were tons of stars overhead. And I just lay down on that icy snow and like could see my breath like puffing up in the stars. And I was like, this is me. I'm home. And I'm not any of those other things that have been so painful for me. And that was wonderful for my, I know it's an athlete transition podcast. That was so key. I lost my whole
Yeah.
identity
Well,
before the transition. It was perfect.
well, do you know what you've spoken about is quite wonderful, because it does highlight the transitions we have during our athletic period. And it does really talk to that, because as an athlete, we go through these different phases, from when you were in the junior team, or indeed when you had someone senior bump you in the race, and suddenly like, oh, well, my role, I got to stay away. And for that, you moved all the way through, from being a junior to a senior. And here you had this other sort of transition moment, identity moment as an athlete. And it sounds like what got you back into competitive skiing was actually finding a new identity. Or it was probably your identity all along, but at least recognizing that identity in yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so something else kind of more expansive
Mm-hmm.
and totally new way of existing.
Yeah.
And then I was able to ski race and quit the team and hired my own coach at great financial disadvantage to myself, but do it my own way,
Yeah.
and made it to those games, which was crazy hard. It was
Mm-hmm.
really, really challenging from how fried I had gotten and out of shape as well as burnt out. So it
Yeah.
was so super hard, which is why I really cherish those games and my result there and the experience I had more than my Olympic gold medal, because that inner peace, I get to keep that forever. And I really wish that for everyone.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is so good to hear you came back. So when you think about that Olympics, you kind of answered it there. It sounds like it. To what extent did you get from it what you wanted, or what not what you had to do, but what you wanted? Talk to me about that.
Um, yeah, I got a lot out of those 2014 games, because when I decided, okay, am I going to quit or not quit? Do I want to watch the games on TV and know I didn't even try and just like, flamed out in this burnout and quit? That wasn't really the ending I was looking for. And so I decided that I would try to go to the games so that I could watch it on TV, knowing I at least tried my best, and that it would be my personal journey from where I was to health. And to be top performer, I have to have that health. So I thought that would be a really cool way to pursue it, and to do it my own way. And when I qualified and got to go to the Olympics in 2014 and race that skate sprint race, the one I was good at, and it was like this super blinding white snow-capped mountains, and the venue up above Sochi, Russia. And you had to take a gondola to get up there. And it was also really, by my standards, Canadian standards, hot, slushy snow. And as my baskets would hit the snow, there was snow flying everywhere, this like wet, granular snow. And my ponytail was just going nuts, and I was skiing and I was winning the gold, and my coach was cheering. Okay, I came 42nd place. But I crossed the line, clicked out of my skis. I knew it would be my last ski race ever. I'd planned to retire, 1.1 kilometers from now. I am super done. I'm like going on fumes in a lot of ways. And I just felt so proud of myself. You're not going to believe who was there and who also placed in the 40s, Claudia Kunsel.
Okay.
And by then we had become friends, because life is beautiful, and it's, been 8 years, and she's a great human. And she said, we had our day.
Yeah.
And I got to ride down from that venue in a gondola all to myself down to the village, which was kind of rare to have it to myself. And I just put my arms out and I sat on the back bench of this gondola, and it went down through like cloud banks and cliffs. And I just felt like I'd won 1,000 gold medals. I felt like my whole chest was just like glowing with what I had done to come through that really hard time, to be, so well and healthy and happy and on the ski team, and giving everyone high fives, and, all the drama I had been through in my personal relationship, and see everyone again. And, the friends I'd made along the way too, because for a while the American team took me in, and I made some really lifelong friendships. So I just left with like 1,000 gold medals, deep inner peace, identity, hell of a last race. Really a beautiful experience.
So many people don't get to finish their game, their career the way they want to. Listening to you is, it's wonderful. It's wonderful you are able to do that. But what I actually find really fascinating is you did that with what your definition of success was, and finishing the race, being at peace, being healthy, being there where you wanted to, and with a friend in a sport you loved, rather than it being defined by being on that podium again and saying, "Yep, I came back and I won." I think that is that's a really nice way, a really good way of defining that moment for yourself.
Yeah, hopefully it's relatable, that we can all set something and go after it, and it's up to us to define it, because it can be a pretty sweet story to go win a medal again, but that was not going to be possible. But yeah, it didn't even occur to me, because I just take it like just such a special jewel in memory, and like foundational to who I am. And who I've been able to be in my retirement. And yeah, my own terms, I really do feel grateful for that, being able to say, like, this is what I want to do and do it. And, if I hadn't made it to those games and we had some other, alternate story here where, like, and then I didn't make it to the games and I skied in the mountains and fell in love and moved on, like,
Yes.
that'd be fine too. It's like, really, really health and being okay is the priority.
That's right. It is. So getting out of the gondola, finishing, retiring the competitive skis. What was next for you?
A real leg up I had in this transition was that I had always worked running a charity called Fast and Female. I founded it in 2005 with the first event before my first Olympics, before the gold. I put together an event for girls age 8 to 18 to inspire and be inspired by the women athlete role models. And then 3 months later, I surprise won the Olympics. So I was able to use that attention. The budget went from $250 to $35,000. It was awesome. We were flying girls across the country to be part of this big camp. It kind of franchised out into the States. We even had an event in Australia, I want to say, in like Falls Creek.
Wow.
Yeah. Where were you?
Yes.
You missed it.
Yeah. I'm not fast and female, so that was it. Yeah.
We broadened it. Everyone could join. So I always had this big purpose, bigger than ski racing, and I needed that. Like, I don't know if you've seen athletes that some athletes, like, if they don't also do school, they just fry out on overanalyzing sport. Like, if you got a big brain up in there, you got to go do school. And for me, it was like I needed a bit more purpose and a bit more context to ski fast. And a lot of years it was like, for the girls, for the charity. If I win a medal, I get to be in the newspaper and continue advancing my charity that I was running as a volunteer for the first 9 years. But it had some good impact on my like image and marketability, because I was kind of waving that flag in years when I did not succeed on the skis. And I always had a bigger picture of like, well, what would I say to the young girls at my events about this race today? I'd say I did my best. I had fun. Like, what more do I expect from myself? It really helped me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting hearing it, because what it did all the way through your career, by having that charitable focus and a focus on something that you really cared about, it sounds like it grounded you at the end of every event. It gave you a reason, at least to think about it positively, because you were a role model very early on.
Yeah, for sure. It's really grounding. It's really healthy. And I'm not immune to getting caught up in like, I am my results. And I would like sulk around the lunch table if I did poorly. And I would like dance around the lunch table if I did well. Like, it's not immune to those highs and lows, and being a little bit self-worth tied to the results. But it really helped. Yeah, it really countered a lot of that to have a bigger picture. And then it was awesome because I had a job. That moment I retired, I threw a retirement party, charged everyone to come to my retirement party. It was a fundraiser.
Yes.
And got all the food and beverage and things for free, and raised, I think we raised $18,000 for the charity, and kicked off my job working for it. And
what title did you give yourself?
Oh, I'm not that detail oriented. I'm like I need a operations person. So I think I did try to be the executive director and realized that was not ideal for myself. So I think we ended up having like president or some other title that would help in fund development, but also reflect like I'm not the one actually organizing everything. And
Yeah.
it's great. It's
Yeah.
great to know your strengths and weaknesses, and it's okay. Yeah.
It is great. It is, in fact, it's vital to know that. And it's good you gave it a shot, giving it a shot, being the one who's doing that organizing, but recognizing soon enough where your skills really are, and developing that. We've just spent the past 30, 40 minutes talking about you waiting for the sprint race to come in. So it makes sense that when you step into that not-for-profit world, or at least into the day-to-day working world, you should try something new and figure out where you would land. So when you went into then the charity, Fast and Female, when you went into that full time, how did you find it? How did you find that shift in rhythm?
The early days of my retirement were good. I also had a couple holidays. I was busy organizing that fundraiser, and I was trying to get into MBA school without an undergrad.
Yes.
And that, you know about these executive programs, but it was so cool. So I was also studying for the GMAT and living it up and going on trips. So I found the transition like really busy with having fun.
Yeah.
And trying to do some algebra in the morning.
Yeah. What was your personal statement to get you into MBA school without an undergrad or business experience? How did you write that?
It was my husband that knew about it, that the executive MBA at the University of Calgary has a third criteria, which is if you don't have an undergrad, but you have 10 years work experience, and you get, I think, 540 or something on the GMAT. And because in this part of Alberta, there could be some like essentially high level employees who might have come up through like working in oil and gas,
Absolutely.
right? And they're big leaders, and they're going to get a chance at a business education without an undergrad. So that, I don't know. I guess it's all over the world, the executive program.
It is. I'm just curious about how you. I'm just curious about
what
how
did
you.
I say?
Yeah, how you wrote that, because.
Okay. So they really did consider Fast and Female work experience, because every single day I was fundraising, running the board, taking care of the staff, and keeping the thing alive, and learned a lot of leadership skills under duress. And business development and fundraising are the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so that seemed, they were excited to have, I was able to join the program, and I speak French and I'm a team player. I don't know if that counts, but I was really happy to be part of it, and it was, awesome. But it was awful and hard also.
Yes, you were saying at times it felt like punishing, but you did pay for it. You did ask them to.
You begged them to let you in this. Why
right.
are you saying, these tests?
Yeah, that's great. And so look, when you introduced yourself, it was this wonderful description of life, and you, actually, so many other people as part of your life. So as you continue through that transition, the charity, the MBA, building the family, your own family, what has been the hardest thing for you as you've gone through that process?
The hardest thing of the process is, I think, two parts. Just the discomfort of uncertainty, not knowing what I'm doing, having to vocalize that, and then tied to that, like feeling stupid or feeling an ego pain of being so uncomfortable, and that continues to this day. I was telling someone last week, we were talking about, I was trying to launch like another business, and then I was like, athlete transition forever. They're like, I feel ya. and at the same time, kind of, that's a human experience though. Like, not just that special. Like everyone's trying to figure out, what should I do in this decade? And now I have this family situation. And like, talk to someone who is like, in their 60s, 70s, or 80s retiring. They're trying to find themselves. So like trying to, really broaden that it's a human experience. But so the ego pain was rough, and the uncertainty and it continues to be rough. Like it's not all figured out, and just getting a little bit. I go through highs and lows with that as well.
Yeah. What's fascinating, what I love about that is it isn't just athletes that have to transition. It is all of us, all humans, as we go through those different stages in life. I think what's fascinating, and hence why, as we're talking, is with athletes, there's always a cliff. It's always there. You're doing a sport where I'm going to have to stop doing this at some point, whether we accept it or not. And, the way we come through that, and, you've spoken about the lessons, or at least your traits, capabilities that you brought from being an athlete to where you are today. And, that for me always makes it a wonderful story. It's a fascinating journey, which you have, certainly taken us on so far, which is great. I have a couple more questions for you then, really, just to round us out. And as you look back at what you have achieved as an athlete, and what would you, still ending up in the same seat, ending up where you are today, what would you have done differently, or what would you have appreciated differently about the way you transitioned, or setting you up for the life you have today?
I had a really good one. I really did. I yeah,
What made it so good?
I think some of the structural advantages of having, for sure, want to acknowledge, like, that was amazing to have won the gold medal, and any day I did retire, I would always get to enjoy that, and that is meaningful. And having such a big sense of belonging and purpose was really helpful. Getting to stop on my own terms, get into school right away, and get into starting a family right away were all great. So I give athlete transition 4.5 stars.
Well, that's good. Now, I think the you did the work early. You did a lot of that setup early,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I died. I died many ego deaths
Yes.
in the year before. So when it
Yes.
came time to transition, I was so far gone from sport.
Yeah.
And it was really, really would have been much harder. Yeah, if I hadn't already totally lost like my attachment to my place as a skier and my self-worth as a skier.
Yeah. I mean, that's wonderful. If there's, well, actually not 18-year-old you, but 18-year-old someone who's following your charity, who is following you and thinking, I want to be like that, Chandra. I want to get to the Olympics. I want to win worlds, but I also want to transition well. If you had to pick one, I may let you have two, but if you had to pick one thing that you'd suggest that they did to help them live their life to the fullest, what would that be?
I would love to say to all athletes at all stages could be brought into all people and parenthood transitions, but to keep cultivating parts of our identities that are joyful to us. Like, you can't beat it. I think what's tough for me to see in athlete transitions is when I really wouldn't do anything that I cared about beyond sport, that would be unhealthy and impact my performance negatively. And so I think there's like two negatives to not having a bit of identity beyond the sport. It can impact in the moment and also at the end. So if we could just normalize talking about our interests beyond sport, having like one day on the junior team, our fun coach made us do a presentation on any topic for 15 minutes, and it was a riot. One guy from BC talked about rock formations. It was just hilarious. And so I would love to, if I could just like text a message to every single human in every sports team, the value of having joy and interest beyond sport doesn't have to be even tons, but it's really worthwhile every minute we spend on a guitar or a book or a course or an interest. It's totally worth it.
Chandra, that's great. Listen, one last thing. If people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be thinking, I want to know more Chandra, I want to follow her more, where's the best place to find you?
I'm most active on Instagram and LinkedIn at Chandra Crawford. Love to hear from you, anyone. I'm just extremely extroverted and chatty. So tell me what's on your mind and we'll go from there.
Chandra, thank you so much for sharing your journey so far with us today. Absolutely loved our conversation. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you, Ryan, and for the work you're doing. You know, it is really meaningful and it is helping people. So just hats off to you. I'm a subscriber and I'm following the newsletter, and I would like to come to the meetup in Sydney. I'm a little far away, but keep up the great work yourself, because it's making people's lives better.
Beauty. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.